Hello, beautiful human beings of this earth. Right now, what I'm going to be doing is sharing one of my greatest passions with you guys, which is making music. I'm outside and I live near a highway, so if, for example, you guys hear noises, that's where it's from. Very often, people will pass by, with their cars, pretty loud and stuff. Let me go ahead and check. I see it's sunny. It's sunny out here, and I'm outside. Okay, so this is an app that I use. It's called Auxy. This app really changed my life because it gave me the ability to articulate my musical passion into music production on the iPhone. So not only is this app available for the iPhone, it's also available for the iPad, and I will be doing a review there as well. This is less of a review because it's 5 stars in my opinion, and more of a walkthrough to show you how I've created music and how you can also create music using this beautiful application. I'm telling you guys, I'm very, very thankful for this app because before having this application, I felt like I didn't have a voice in music, and now I do. Now I feel like I do. And so this is basically what I did right now. Just to start a project let me go ahead and delete that one. I'm going to scroll up to, I do not want to cancel. I'm going to scroll up, right? On the top it says new project. It's very, very simple. I go ahead and click the plus, and it gives me a randomly generated name. This one is called Loyal Lobster. I'm going to go ahead and open up an instrument. And before opening up an instrument, actually, I want to show you guys that there are some controls here in order to make your project the way you want to before you start adding instruments. So you have the tempo settings. You can go ahead and change it anywhere from 60 beats per minute to 300 beats per minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down on maybe 140. The swing, basically what happens is your stuff is snapped into place, right? Like it is I forget the word. But basically it might sound a little bit computery if it's too perfect. So if you don't want it to sound too perfect, you turn on swing, and it could be anywhere from 0 to 10. Usually I'll put it at 3, but I'll put it after I start making my song. And over here we have the key of the song. So most DAWs have it set to G major. I think it's G major. No, G minor. I could be wrong. But the key is usually set to G. And so what happens is we have a lot of songs in G that are consistently being uploaded. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it. So a lot of people will say that I'm wrong when it comes to this, but I feel like B is higher or like more cartoony or something, and C is more serious. I could be wrong, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it to B, and I'm going to change the scale from minor to major. And these are restricted or constrained scales to where you're not necessarily going to play something bad because all these go together. And I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please clock me in the comments. I'm always trying to learn more. So basically, minor, this is the way I remember it. So minor, smile, major, smile. So if I want to make a sad song, I'm going to make something that's with a minor smile, with a little baby smile, not really smiling. If I want to make something happy, I'm going to do something with a major smile, a very, very big smile. So I want to make a happy song, so I'm going to put it in major. If I want to do a harmonic minor, that's more creepy sounding. Well, at least that's the way my cousin described it to me. But I'm gonna put it in major for now. And if you want to, you can turn on make new loops chromatic. And what happens when you turn that on is you get the full keyboard, essentially. It's not restricted or constrained to just the ones that are going to go good in a major scale or minor scale. No, it's just going to be the full piano roll, essentially. And you are the one who dictates where you're going to go with that. But then you have the opportunity to maybe mix things together that might not sound correct. I would definitely recommend that the chromatic scale is used by more experienced users, but why not try to learn it and get a head start on it immediately? If, for example, you're a beginner, you can definitely do that, and that would be great, because I still don't use that myself. So if you want to, you can get a head start on that. So making a song that's 140 beats per minute. The swing is nothing so far. By the way, there is a bell in the background because there is a church close by. Good thing we have not started making the song. The key is in B major. The key is B, the scale is major. The ducker, there's certain triggers for the ducker. Every beat, every half bar or trigger by samples. The duck, just pretend like you're in a car and you decided that you want to be outside of the what is it called? That sunroof thing. You're there, but then you see a pole, an oncoming pole, and it looks like it might hit you, so you duck. Well, that's what the volume does, if you've never heard of a ducker. And yeah, the volume will duck in order for it to let other things shine. Like if the kick, if the beat, wow, it used to be trigger by kick. Okay, so now they have trigger every beat, trigger every half bar, trigger by samples, and you can make the certain sample that you want the kick or something, so that the kick can stand out, but the volume on everything else ducks, or the volume on a particular instrument ducks. Let me see. There's a bunch of things here. Export audio, export project, SoundCloud. Like, you can upload directly to SoundCloud. You can have background audio. You can turn on Ableton Link if you're a user of that. But now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to get started in a song called Loyal Lobster. It auto-generated that. I'm going to open up an instrument, and it gives me the option to do melodic or drum sounds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on melodic. We have categories here: bass, hard bass, lead, hard lead, pad, pluck, and mallet, piano and keys, orchestral actually, and sweeper. So what I usually do is I just go through the sections here, because when I got Auxy, there was maybe, let me see, I remember it was up to the future. So it was Original Sounds, Seven Skies Collection, Signature Pianos, The Sound of Vibrant, RAC Essentials, Vintage Keys. Actually, I think those are the ones that I like. It started with 4 or 5 when I started using Auxy, and now we have a bunch more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of the names just to let you know what they're kind of like, or I'll just go through and click a few of them so that you can hear the sounds, just very general, because there's a ton of sounds. But Original Sounds, my favorite has to be Autumn. Autumn and Canoe, I think I love the most. And the bass instruments are really good too. There's a ton more. Seven Skies Collection. You can choose not to download all of them, which will save space on your device. And I could even go ahead and delete one, and it says clear 0.4 megabytes of space. But I'm going to keep that one. Signature Pianos. The Sound of Vibrant. Let me see. RAC Essentials. I think my favorite one from there is Alan. Vintage Keys. I really like those. It sounds to me like a guitar, but maybe that's because I'm not experienced in traditional music. Lobster has to be my favorite out of the Future pack. Melodic Percussion. Okay, I really love Ocean. I really love that one. Boom Bass. I don't really use boom bass, but that doesn't mean that you wouldn't enjoy it. Maybe it would be your favorite pack. Destiny. Acoustic guitars. I love the acoustic guitars package, trust me. I feel like it adds so much soul. And recently when I've been trying to explore more country music, that whole genre of things, because I love songwriting, I feel like acoustic guitars is really my package that I love using right now. Now, if you're barely beginning, if you're very experienced, you'll see the differences, right? You'll hear the difference. But if you're barely starting off, you might be like, well, what is that nonsense? I don't necessarily need a bunch of the same sounding acoustic guitars, but you will experience a point where you can decipher the difference. You can tell the difference, and you're gonna want a really specific guitar, and that gives you that flexibility right there. Orchestral strings. Okay. Sweet pads. I love these with the vocals. It really is cool. Like it's really nice to use those. Disturbing leads. Whenever you're in the mood to make something sound crazy, it's lovely. Game waves, whenever you want to make something sound like an 8-bit video game, it's a really good package. Hipster horns. My favorite has to be bright saxophone. That's why I put a little heart on it. If you want to add to your favorites, you definitely can. Retrofit. Standard deviation. Euphoric memories. Heavy bass. I really like heavy bass. Wow, there's a lot of packages. Let me see what else. That was Pluck Pluck Go. Odd makeup. That was Odd Makeup. Panic Attack. Dirty House Selection. Skewed Orbit. And Save the Ocean, the newest one. Sometimes I get tempted to use the newest package. By the way, I do want to let you guys know that in the trial version there are 7 sounds, and it's a variety. They're chosen from, you know, a variety of these packs, and there's 7 sounds that you can use for free, and 2 drum packs that you can use for free. This version that I'm using is actually the premium version, where you pay. And of course, the pricing is always subject to change, but right now we're paying $5 a month in order to get this massive bundle of, you know, amazing instruments. So I think that it's definitely worth the money. Whether you're a professional or a beginner, if you're really passionate about music making, this is definitely worth the money, like 100%. And you're respecting the developers and such, so I think it's really awesome. By the way, I am outside and someone is mowing the lawn, so you may hear that noise, but I am moving a little bit further away from that, so hopefully you guys don't hear that in full detail. So what I'm doing is I put down a bass, and the bass is called Whale. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a random track here. So you saw the way I laid that down, right? I just made a general point right there, and then dragged it down from that little line on the blue portion that I added. And right now we're on 1/16, so we're on the default. So it's a 1/16 of a bar, I believe. Sometimes I'm not the best at describing these things, but it's at 1/16. We can make it precision by adding by selecting this. So instead of 1/16, it would be 1/32. You see how they're smaller? So let's go ahead and compare the size right now. 1/16. Let me do this in order. So 1/16. Let's go ahead and make 1/32. Triplets, 1/12. Precision triplets, 1/24. And free move, which is new. And you see wherever you put it down, it'll go. So it's not snapping to the grid, and we could just make it as long or as short as we want it to. So that would probably not sound very pleasant. Let's go ahead and play it. Okay, yeah, doesn't sound very pleasant. Usually when it comes to bass instruments, you don't necessarily want to do, let me snap it. You don't necessarily want to do these where you put multiple notes to create a, I believe it's called chord. I could be wrong. You don't always want to do that with every bass instrument, because right now it does sound fine. But that isn't always the case with every, oh, I'm on free again. Let me go back to default. That isn't always the case with every instrument though, because some of them could sound really grimy. So if I want to, what I could do is I can turn this that's only 1 bar into 2 bars. And I have the option whether I want to duplicate the notes that I just put there. So it could go dun, 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 dun. It could do that, or what I could do is I could put skip. And when I do skip, it doesn't duplicate this first part, look. So it doesn't duplicate that. I'm gonna put it back to just 1 bar. I'm just gonna keep the first, just so that I can show you guys what happens when I put duplicate. So all of that is there now. I'm just gonna scoot things around randomly. You see, you just do things randomly and things work out. You know what I mean? Like you just play with this. Music is about playing. That's why people call it play music, because you get to express yourself and you just get to do fun things. You know what I mean? Of course, there are ways that you can make your music better, or there are ways that you can know about music that is going to help you out. Certain like separations that you would add to this, like you see how I'm just going 1 and then skip and then 1 and then skip, like here. Well, there's certain ways that you can change that to make a sound that you prefer. But that's the way I'm gonna leave it now for the demonstration's sake. What I'm gonna go ahead and do now is I'm gonna add a drum kit. So we have all these drum kits in Auxy that are really awesome for us users to use, right? But if you want to, you can even start an empty drum kit. And when you start an empty kit, you have the ability to go in here and choose from all of these packages. Now, of course, I'm not gonna go through every package, because if you can see from the side here, look how many sounds there are in Transcendent Trap 2. There are 650. So if I go ahead and click that, there's 100 808 snares, 100 claps, 100 hi-hats, 100 hybrid snares, 100 kicks, 100 percussion, and 50 rides. So let me go ahead and just choose a random kick. That one's really punchy of a kick. So I put them at a distance like that, and of course we have the ability to do default precision triplets, or free move. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change it to triplets, just so that we could hear a little bit of a difference. I'm gonna go into the same one, Transcendent Trap, and I'm gonna choose the hybrid snares. That one's really snappy and punchy. So you guys might be like, and for the sake of the demonstration, I'm gonna put on a low pass filter just so that it won't be so punchy when you guys are hearing it. You can even add distortion. I tend to put these all the way up on clip and then turn up the distortion. Now, if you turn it down here, it turns down here as well. So if I turn it up there and then I turn it back down, it goes away. right? But I'm gonna turn it back up. You see? So it sounds really punchy, it sounds really good in my opinion. What I'm gonna go ahead and do now is I'm gonna add another melodic sound, and let's go ahead and, since Save the Ocean is new, we're gonna use Save the Ocean. Let's go ahead and use Anemone. And we're just gonna lay down some of this stuff here. In the background, I'm sure you can hear the church bells ringing, so just make sure to tune those out whenever you're listening to it, and know that there are background sounds. You can mess with this real time while it is playing, so that makes it a really good thing for, you know, you to use as an artist to see, like, is it going right, is it not going right? At any point I can go ahead and just change it. And maybe I don't want to, like, maybe I have a solid concept here and I don't want to delete it when I'm using it, when I'm using this application. So I'll do 2 bars, I'll duplicate it, and I'll say, let me leave this first one as is, and let me just mess with this bottom one. You see, and I just elongate them as I please. I can make the notes longer so that they, you know, sustain for longer. Maybe I think it's too loud, so I come over here and I have quite a few options. I can add distortion, I can add delay, I can add reverb, chorus, a low pass filter, high pass filter, the ducker, pan, which means that I can, you know, isolate it to just maybe the left ear or maybe the right ear. And I can also change the volume up or down. What I'm gonna do for right now is I'm gonna put it on solo. And I'm gonna go ahead and, I'm gonna play it, but I'm gonna turn it down. So you guys hear what it sounds like right there, right? Well, to me, it sounds really high. So let's see if adding a low pass filter will do anything to soften it for my ears. Maybe I want it to sound like that. Maybe I want to add a delay. And this delay, I want it to sound like that. Or maybe like this. So maybe I don't want any reverb. I'm gonna go ahead and change the instrument because I feel like that's too dreamy to the point where maybe we can't hear it necessarily. This one's good. So I can add distortion. I like the way that sounds. I can add a delay. I could change the timing of the delay as you guys saw there. I can add a reverb. Let me remove the delay and add reverb. Okay, you saw how that sounded. So let me go ahead and try the chorus filter, or it was just recently added, so I don't really use it too much, but whenever it adds a vibe to your sound, you definitely want to make use of all the tools you have. Okay, that was the chorus. Let me try low pass. Okay, now let me go ahead and try high pass. You see the high pass effect it might be good so that you don't have it clashing with the other lower notes, like maybe the bass and such. Let's go ahead and try Ducker. No Ducker. With Ducker. You see how the Ducker allows for it to go ahead and duck every once in a while, and of course you can change the settings for that. Now let's go ahead and try pan. What I'm going to do is pan it to the left, and then I'm going to pan it to the right ear. If this is being recorded in mono audio by the screen recording, then you guys will not be able to hear what I'm doing or the effect that it's creating, but let's go ahead and try it anyway. Left ear, right ear, center. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to show you these features like attack, release, offset, and glide. So this is really interesting, and I want for you guys to go ahead and listen to how it changes the sound. This one softens the landing of the beginning of the note. This one extends it. Release. So attack, think of the beginning of the note. Release, think of the end of the note and how long it extends. Offset, the timing of it. Glide. You see how these go ahead and change the sound? Okay, so we're not onto a perfect song yet, but it does sound good. You see down here we have scenes. Maybe I want to start off with only the bass and no drums, or this one that is called tense. Let me show you guys real fast before we go into it. So I started a drum kit on my own, right? But you can always go ahead and get one of these pre-made drum kits. And you see with these pre-made drum kits, you don't have to fill in every single one of them. You can start off with what's there and then change them later, because not all the time do we have the time to go ahead and make a manual drum kit when we have a very, like the striking inspiration is there, you know what I mean? So, kick, snare. Let me make sure the other one is off, and the other one is off. You see, and at any point what we can go ahead and do is we can click, you know, the kick sound like that, and we would just go ahead and change it to our preference. I'm going to leave it the same, but we can go ahead and change it to whichever one that we want at any given time. But I don't feel like this, you know, the drum kit, I don't want it necessarily right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm creating a scene, right? I go in here and I tap whale, and we have, you know, we can designate how many bars it is. So I can make it up to 32 bars. 32 bars is pretty long, you know? But what I want to do is I'm just going to make it 4 bars. So I'm going down here to make it 4 bars. And what I want is another wonderful thing that we have in Auxy, where you can set an automation. So all the effects that I showed you guys right now, you can change them in a certain designated period of time by creating an automation scene. So that's what I just did right now. Let me show you guys one more time. So I click this plus down here below the primary loop. This is the loop I'm clicking on and off, right? Well, below it, maybe, oh, look, if I want to do another loop, I can go ahead and click it here to create a whole different other loop. If I want to duplicate this loop, label it, edit it, move it, do anything with it, I can go ahead and have that option. I'm going to duplicate it, but maybe I don't want to do that. And I can change it on my own. I'm just going to label this duplicated loop, okay? I'm going to label this loop duplicate. And let me label this one main. So I have this main loop, right? And I want to be using that one, but I want to set an automation because maybe the volume comes in too loud, or I want it to start softer. I'm going to set this to either 4 bars or scene because my scene is 4 bars. If I change the scene length, maybe I want it to go along with that. So let me go ahead and try this. So if I have a 4-bar automation and I started off super soft because I have a low pass filter in here, let's say I change my duration to 8 bars. Let's go ahead and see what that does. You see it's doing it twice because my scene is 8 bars. It's doing it twice because my scene is 8 bars. But instead of doing that, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to edit this automation and I'm going to change the duration to the scene. And I want to change the duration to the scene so that we can go ahead and have it be 8 bars, but we're not going to duplicate the process of it going like from soft to harsher, or however it would sound. We're not going to do that. Let me just show you the example. It's just going in from soft for the whole 8 bars, then to clear. You heard that? So through the whole 8 bars, instead of doing soft to clear, it's just going soft to clear for the whole 8 bars instead of doing it per 4 bars. Now, I just started a new scene, and automatically it's gonna select what I had and duplicate it for this new scene. But what I wanna do is I wanna turn the automation off. Before I turn it off, I'm gonna label it. Let me put soft to clear. I never do that. I usually put from low pass, but right now I'm gonna just put soft to clear. I'm gonna turn that off. It's still labeled over here. I'm gonna keep this bass in here, and I'm gonna turn on this other instrument. Let's go ahead and hear what this sounds like, the full track. If I say, oh, I heard a mistake or something, what I would do is I would find out and decipher what mistake it was by doing this. I would trigger the loop. I would trigger the loop on the bottom right-hand corner where it says loop. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna go ahead and let it play the whole thing, both of my scenes. So in order for me to do that, I release the loop. Loop is not selected. That's what it means when you release the loop. And let me go ahead and just play it. Okay, so we have that. Basically, I don't want to bore you guys by making a whole entire song, but what I'm going to do is I like where this is going. So I'm going to create a third scene. You can do this at any point. So let's say I'm at the first one and I do this. I click the plus, right? On these little cards on the bottom, right above the play and rewind and everything. If I press and hold rewind, it'll take me to the first one. If I just tap it one time, it'll take me to the prior. But if I press and hold it, it'll take me to the first one. What I want to do now is I want to make a scene that is just like scene 2 with drums. But I already did this. I already duplicated the first one. So what I can go ahead and do is I could just delete it and all your loops stay there. And I can just press the plus, and because it automatically selected the second one, and duplicate that one and then add drums. Or if, for example, don't feel stuck if you did this, if you were on the first scene and you clicked plus and now it duplicated the first scene, don't feel stuck at all, because what you can simply do is be like, oh, I know that it just doesn't have an automation, it has tense involved, and I just wanted to add drums. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is just try with both the drum kits. Let's go ahead and see what that sounds like. Okay, sounds pretty good. But I feel like tense can have something else. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make, let me see. I'm going to duplicate number 2 and I'm going to scoot it over. See, you could scoot them over wherever you want. And I'm going to grab that loop and I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it. I'm going to duplicate tense's loop, and let me see what we could do here. I feel like it needs higher notes, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Okay, so we're adding higher notes, but I do want to make a few more changes to it. Make it sound a little different before we do have that big, those drums come in and such. Okay, now what I'm going to go ahead and do is now I'm going to create a low pass filter for the scene where I go from clear to soft. Maybe I want to do the same thing for whale over here. So I duplicated that automation and I'm going to rename it. Let me see. Clear to soft. And now let's go ahead and see what this sounds like in its entirety. Ooh, I feel like I would really like tense to have this one. I mean tense. I feel like I would really like the last this part to have the modified loop of tense. So let's go ahead and try it. See, we can always do that, or we can try both. So we can have one with the first version and then duplicate it down here in the card stacks or whatever you would call them for the scenes, and then have that one there. So it would play one like that, and then next with that modified version. So Loyal Lobster is coming out to be an amazing hit. If you want to now share it with friends, sometimes what happens is the screen recording stops if, for example, I go ahead and try to export something, usually in photo apps. I'm not quite sure if that's the way it is in music apps. I don't want to risk it, but I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. The song is currently 41 seconds. What I can go ahead and do is I can render the project and then export it. Or I can go ahead and export the, let me see. I could export the project in its other forms. So if I share a project link, what Auxy does is it generates basically kind of like, it generates a link to your project. These links are MIDI projects. And with MIDI, what happens is it's very easy to create a small file from it. You know what I mean? It's basically like a roadmap. They're giving a roadmap out to how to create the song, and then the other device gets it and it looks the same as the project on your device, but they're not transferring each and every sound. It's just the roadmap to it. We can export the project file. You see, the difference between these things is if you share the project link, you're sharing just a link that expires after 30 days. If you share a project file, you're sharing the legitimate file. So you're not sharing a web link, you're sharing the legitimate file. And still, those are like 3 to 5 kilobytes on the regular, on the average, maybe on the larger side, 20 kilobytes at max. And if you're not familiar with the kilobyte, basically that's like 1,000th of, it's like 1,024th of a megabyte. So they're really small files. You can export the stems, meaning that you're gonna export with separate WAV files, and you can use this in your regular DAW, your DAW, digital audio workstation. You can go ahead and export the MIDI by itself with the instrument data for each note. I don't know how to explain that. Basically, you're sending out, it says here, export a MIDI file with each instrument's note data. I couldn't have said it better. I'm glad they have descriptions here. You can go ahead and export an Ableton Live set, so you can take your Auxy project and then expand upon it in your computer or on your computer with Ableton Live. Another wonderful thing is, look, I'm just going to read the description. It says, as an Auxy subscriber, you can redeem a lightweight version of Ableton Live. I believe in Live Lite, you can set up to 8 tracks maximum. Live Intro, you can do 16, but that does cost $100. With this, it's free. Live Lite, you can have 8 tracks maximum, and trust me, bro, like, this is worth it. The fact that you can get Ableton Live Lite by getting an application that is only $5 a month, do you understand the value of that? Because back in the day, it was only in 2016. It was just 3 years ago. What day am I talking about? It was back in the day, 3 years ago. You can go ahead and get Ableton Live Lite if you purchase maybe a MIDI keyboard from, Guitar Center or something. And those MIDI keyboards, at minimum, were probably like $79. Maybe you could find one as cheap as $50. But the fact that you're able to get your hands on a Live Lite, what is it called? Those key codes, those generator. No, it's not a generator. It is a serial number. The fact that you can get your hands on a serial number for Ableton Live Lite by just getting this application, like, that's really awesome. That is super awesome. You can upload to SoundCloud. You can, again, those are some settings, right? But like, if you want to export your audio, you can render the project. Dang, I don't want to interrupt the screen recording. But essentially, once it's exported, once you've rendered your project, I think I can go ahead and click export just so that the projects can come over here at the project options. So if I click export, it says upload to SoundCloud, export audio, export video, or export uncompressed wave. So you might be thinking, what does that mean, export video? Well, it's just, it says made in Auxy. It's in a square format. You can put a little cover to it, little artwork. And yeah, you can export it so that you can play it on Instagram or whatever the case may be, so you can share it with your friends there. If you export audio, it's not necessarily the highest quality audio. I'm not meaning to say it's low quality. It's just not an uncompressed wave. And if you are familiar with music, you would know that an uncompressed wave file is like, it's like a raw file in photography. In music. I had to sneeze. Thank you guys. I know you guys said bless you. Anyway, so you would export the uncompressed wave file to retain the most quality. You can, again, upload to SoundCloud. You have these options, right? In the free version, I'm not sure if you can export as an uncompressed wave, but I would definitely recommend that you get this version anyway. If you cannot afford to get the free option, I mean the premium option, which, bro, I completely understand, because let me be honest, I'm not rich yet, you know. I still know what it feels like to not have the money, $5 a month, because you have other responsibilities. What I would say is still use the app, and you can always change the instruments later, you know. How you guys saw that I went from, anemone to tense in the application, where, like, in my song that I was making in this application, like, you can always do that later. So you can use a sample sound or a free trial or whatever it's called. You can use the free version and put a sound, and then you can change it later once you get the paid version. So it's really awesome. And if you stop paying for this app, you might be wondering, does everything get deleted? No, your premium sounds, they do get locked. So you need to pay in order to keep editing them. But you can get so much work done, and then export your projects, and then record your tracks with vocals and everything in the meantime, while you're not able to pay for this app. Usually that's not going to be the case for everyone. Some people will be able to pay for it. Some people will not be able to pay for it every month. But just be aware that your projects are not going to get lost. They're not going to be deleted. Nothing like that is going to happen. You can even have your stuff backed up to the cloud, and you know, it's duplicated there. Sometimes what I'll go ahead and do is I'll export. Let me see. I'll export my project, and I'll do export project file, and I'll share it by emailing myself. I'll email it to myself, or I'll save it in notes, or I'll copy it to one of my other applications like Documents, and there you have a duplicate of it, you know. If you message it to yourself, or you can iMessage it, or you share it via email, you automatically have a backup of that, you know. Let's say something happens to your phone. Hopefully not, right? But like, if something does happen to your phone, you just go to your email and you have your emails there. So that's really awesome. And it's awesome because if you really love your music, you'll do whatever you need to take care of it and back it up. So maybe it sounds like it's not awesome, like, oh, who would want to back their stuff up manually? But to protect your files, I would do anything, because you do put a lot of work into these when you are, working on your music. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of love. It's a lot of passion. It's a lot of, like, emotion sometimes. So let me see. There was something else that I wanted to say. Export audio. Oh, you just go ahead and select which one you want. So let's say I've rendered a bunch of projects, and I want to go ahead and export this one as an uncompressed wave. Well, I can go ahead and do that. I'm selecting now 60, and I label them like this with a capital A, capital M. That means A major. If it were a minor, then I would put a little lowercase m. So Thick Thought 165 beats per minute, and the BM does not stand for beats per minute. The BM stands for B minor. So I can go ahead and select that one and export that one. You know, you see how I'm selecting them, right? Well, I would say record them when you make the song and you already know the tempo and you already know the key and everything. I would recommend naming them properly, because if, for example, I took this one called Secret 2 into my DAW, then I would not necessarily know what the tempo would be set at. And that is not good when you want to record your tracks. You want to know exactly what tempo, and you want to be ready to work whenever you can. So I would recommend it more like golden blue. You don't name things like that if you want to just get started immediately in your DAW. I mean, of course, name them how you want. Not everyone is going to record vocals to them. Some people might just have instrumentals, but Years Away, 88, D major, that's the way I would name it. Typically just to get everything in advance, like prepared in advance. But guys, I think that's the whole Auxy application. I could be wrong. I have a lot of songs here that you just mess around with and change. So I would just go into any song, for example, and let me see. You have scenes here. Maybe I would duplicate the one with the least amount of tracks in a scene so that I can go ahead and blank them out real fast. I would duplicate the blank one just so that I know, like, this is what I was working on prior, and this is the new stuff that I'm working on later on. And sorry guys, that was really loud. That was really loud, sorry. But yeah, you just go ahead and work on things like that, and you can have a bunch of tracks. Here's the news. You'll know when there's new sounds. Here's your subscription information and such. But guys, I really appreciate the fact that you guys took the time to watch my video. I hope everyone has a wonderful musical journey. I'm gonna do the same review / walkthrough on my iPad, just so you can see what the difference is. Let's say, for example, you're deciding, I'm not sure if I want an iPad, or I'm not sure if I want an iPhone. I'm not sure which device is going to be better or more suitable for me when it comes to making music. Well, let me tell you this, in my opinion. The iPhone, if you're going to be lying down a lot, late nights or early mornings making music, the iPhone's really wonderful because you get to just lie down in bed with it. But the thing is that, yeah, it does have a smaller screen. Maybe the more intimate experience is better for you. If you want, you can get Auxy on the iPad, and it stretches out to, like, it is native to the iPad, so it's not an iPhone app that you can get on the iPad. No. It'll stretch out to the iPad perfectly, right? And you can use it on the giant iPad, but the iPad Pro 12.9 and such. But for me, I find that sometimes, yeah, I do want to look at the whole layout. I want to know every single track that's involved. I want to know everything so that I can mix it and stuff better. Look at my tracks, come up with an arrangement that's better. But sometimes what happens is you just feel like it's too big. Like you can't necessarily hash out every idea if you get a cold, or you're lying down all day. It's a lazy day. First off, don't be lazy. Just kidding. No, but you know what I mean? Like, the iPad is not for everyone. The iPhone, let's say you got an injury or something, you can't necessarily be standing up or at a desk, then the iPhone will suffice. Like, the iPhone is literally so great because it's like a computer in your hands or your pocket. The iPad, on the other hand, is it's becoming more like a desktop where you kind of have to sit up in order to use it, or like you use it at a desk or something. Oh my gosh, I'm like scratching these little seeds. There's seeds from a tree outside. I promise I didn't fart. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this walkthrough of Auxy. I really love this application from the bottom of my heart. I send the best energy to the developers. I feel like it's what works for me for music, and I hope that it's what works for you and provides value to you. It's a really amazing application, and if you have not tried it yet, I definitely recommend it. My name is Brandon Aqua, BRANDNAQUA. If you like this video, please subscribe and like the video, and leave comments and feedback, criticism, and help me learn more, because I definitely want to learn more. That was my walkthrough, and this song was called Loyal Lobster, and I hope you have a wonderful day, morning, evening, week, year, everything. So I'll talk to you guys later. Be safe. Later.